Hello, fellow super nerd friends, Haley and Alexis, Becky here on this glorious Tuesday. I say glorious because today is the day that Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows comes out. Yes, which was an excellent movie. And I totally thought that it was out like weeks ago. It's like, we need to get Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows. And then I found out last week that, well, 4 days ago, that it came out today. And since then, I'm like, guess what Tuesday is? And everyone's like, yes, Becky. I'm like, ah! Anyway, so that's exciting. Funny story, though, on a related note somewhat. When I was in Seattle for that thing on the concert a little while ago, we got Sherlock Season 2 of the TV series at Barnes & Noble, me and my dad and my mom. And then Joanna and I watched the first episode, the one with Irene Adler. And then, a week later, Joanna sends me a text and says, guess what we got? And it has a picture with the BBC logo. I'm like, what could they have gotten? And she comes back, and she and Mom are all excited. And they're like, Becky, look what we got! And it's Sherlock Season 2, which I bought with my mom, and which Joanna and I watched. And they had completely forgotten. They'd completely forgotten that we already owned it, and they were so excited to show it to me, and so sad when I said we already had it, and they'd forgotten. So my family is hilarious and kind of mostly frustrating. Everyone's been very mad at me for the last little while because I'm sitting around doing nothing. So I guess that I kind of told Alexis that kind of got to me, and so I wrote a paper and sent it in. Now I have 4 left, and I am planning, really hoping to finish 2 of them this week. I have not started either one, but I think it might be possible. I have almost finished The Winter's Tale by Shakespeare, and Shakespeare takes me forever to read, so that is something. And the other one is supposed to be about energy, clean energy, so I should know a bit about that, and should be able to crank 6 pages out, and I've gotten A's on the last 2 for that class, so that shouldn't be bad. So, also, jobs. I filled out several paper applications today, and I was going to take those down to Covington. I thought, wouldn't that be fun to walk down to... I've never actually walked to Covington. I've walked to my school, which is close, but I haven't actually walked all the way down there. So I might do that tomorrow. Today it was very rainy, so that didn't happen. But tomorrow is a possibility, except for... Covington isn't all that close. It takes like 20 minutes to walk to the high school, and downtown is a bit further, and it's kind of long, and then there's the other place way over there that is I can't walk there. There are no sidewalks there. And it's frustrating because our society is so dependent on cars. A person is so useless without a car. There was a book at the Conservation Remix thing. It's published by UW. It hasn't actually come out yet, which is a shame because I would like to read it. It's called Car Country, and it's like a history of America's dependence on cars. And actually, most of the cement in the US, just random boring fact, is used for highways and transportation rather than skyscrapers and buildings and stuff. Most of the cement is used for roads. And it frustrates me because it's really... every person having their own car and being completely useless. I mean, it's like a rite of passage when a person gets a car and learns how to drive, which I haven't gone through yet, so maybe that's what makes it frustrating. But they're so wasteful. I mean, not just gas, but tires, and they only last for so long, and so much time is wasted in people commuting, and traffic is horrible in cities, and shouldn't there be something better out there than individual cars? That frustrates me. I cannot wait until public transportation is better. Do you know how long it would take to get from here to Seattle with the buses? Maybe you do. Maybe we were talking about that when you guys were here. But it takes 2 hours to get, not Seattle, Bellevue, to get from here to Bellevue. Because you have to, if I walk down to the library here, then I can get a bus to Kent Station, and then a bus from Kent Station to the Bellevue Transit Center, and then a bus from the Bellevue Transit Center to, okay, this is BCC, or Bellevue College. It would, over 2 hours. It should take half an hour. And that's 3 transfers, so 2 transfers, 3 buses, and so that's, Anyway, transportation always frustrates me. I'm sorry, that's not what I was going to talk about. This is already long. The lighting in my house is horrible. I've already made this video and it turned out to be very long, and I didn't spend this long talking about cars. So I'll keep this under 10 minutes, I promise. About paper towns, Alexis, actually I love your hair, Alexis. I told you that, but I hadn't actually seen your whole video, and I really, really love it. It is gorgeous, and I thought that you would look good with red hair, but I'd really like it. Anyway, yeah. So you brought up 2 things about paper towns that I'm glad you did, because I hadn't thought of them. But I had when I was reading it, but not when I was talking about it. So the balloon theory that the detective mentioned, I kind of wonder what would have happened, or wish that it had happened. That didn't work. I wonder what would have happened if the detective or Quentin mentioned that to Margot. Because the detective's view, you know, that she's a balloon and some people are just balloons and their strings get cut and they have to float away and land somewhere and then live out their boring lives in a different part of the country. And I wonder if Margot had thought of that, or what her response would be, and what her plans are, because we never really heard her plans beyond getting out of there. And, I mean, I guess geographic location does something, and being away from your parents, and so the other thing was the joy of leaving. And those 2 things, I guess, are connected. But, okay, so the joy of leaving I thought was interesting, because, oftentimes, I mean, part of the book was about the sadness of high school ending, but for Margot, I mean, she didn't even see the end of her high school, she ditched, and, which doesn't bode well for her future, I guess. Not getting her high school diploma isn't really a good thing. So yeah, I still wish they'd talked about her future. But the joy of leaving, maybe it's kind of like me leaving Wazoo. I didn't want to leave Wazoo, but now that I have, I really can't go back. And for me right now, I kind of sympathize with Margot, because I don't hate it here. I'm really trying not to be an angsty teenager. But I just kind of wish there was a way to cut this string cleanly. I mean, that didn't happen for me going off to college. I'm back here. So, and I mean, people after 4 years of college often come back home. And, I wish there was a way for me to just kind of cut that string and go somewhere else. That probably wouldn't help my future at all, just as it's probably not gonna help Margot's. But I guess that's just something that some people have to do. And I don't feel like I have to. It just would be nice sometimes, I think, to get away and be more independent. And maybe that goes back to the car thing. I'm very not independent here. I like being on my own these last couple of days because it's slightly more reminiscent of the independence of college, which I didn't do well with, but I enjoyed. Our new book, that's exciting, Diamond Age. I don't think there was much else I had to say on the balloon theory, and yes, under 10 minutes. Diamond Age. Hurrah! I actually have the book. That was my book. Yes. But I found a PDF too. I don't know how we're going to section it. This is not going to be under 10 minutes. I'm sorry. I don't know how we're going to section it because there are 2 parts. It is a good deal longer than Paper Towns, and there are no chapters. It's just kind of sections without names, or with random long names. Anyway, but I'm very excited for it. I kind of started it, and it's all sci-fi and future, so I'm excited for it. Also, one last completely unrelated thing that I just wanted to mention because it happened to me over the weekend. My neighbor and longtime friend since kindergarten, Erin, wrote a little comic about her childhood with me and my sister and her sister. And she mentioned that she had an imaginary cat when she was little named Jimmy. And I remember Jimmy. I haven't thought of him in a long time. But it made me feel horrible because I didn't know that he was imaginary. I was just always confused when she mentioned Jimmy because I thought she had some random stray cat in her backyard that I never saw. Because everyone else was in on this. She's like, oh yeah, Jimmy did blah blah blah. And everyone's like, oh yeah, okay, Jimmy, blah blah. And I'm just, I was always very confused. Maybe I would have understood if I had an imaginary friend, but I never did. The closest thing I had was my stuffed frog named Smoochie that I got at Wazoo when I was little. Anyway, I always liked the idea of an imaginary friend. I just never had one. I read a lot of books when I was little, though, so maybe that helped. Did you guys ever have any imaginary friends? Yeah. Anyway, I guess that's it. And I shall see you guys in the next 2 days, and I hope you have fantastic weeks and have fun doing whatever you're doing with jobs and Skyrim and TV and stuff. And yeah. Alright then. Bye.